it out, man. This Alchemist. It's the God right here.
Don't pee right here, you know what I'm saying? And don't be scared to get shitty, man. You know what I'm saying? UGTV is going down.
What's good, y'all? This is Music Soul Channel right now. You are checking out Urban Grind TV.
What up, man? This is Ludacris, and right now you are watching UGTV.
What's happening? It's the Teflon Don Ricky Rouse. And right now you rocking with UrbanGrindTV. It's going down. Flock Bell install 10 5 10 minutes UGTV. Don't go nowhere.
Yo, what's up? It's Eric Sermon, the Green Light Bandit in Chi-Town. UGTV, you know how I do all day. Represent that. You know what time it is.
Joel Santana, and right now you checking out Urban Grind TV. Dipset for life, Skull Gang forever, Slow Bugs, keep up. Ooh.
What's up, it's the Patty Cake Man, and you are watching UGTV right here.
It's Big Snoop Dogg, Urban Grind TV, you understand me?
Urban Grind TV, Face Mob in the building. I'll let your motherfucking boy.
Killer Cam, King Joffrey, Joe, Spacey Sparkers, and right now you watching Urban Grind TV. You know what it is. Good set, you win.
Yo, check it out, y'all. It's the dead. It's Raekwon the Chef, and you doing it big right now on Urban Grind TV.
What's good, man? It's the God. You know what it is. You're watching UGTV.
Yo, what's up? It's DA to the Z, Urban Grind. You know what I mean? Television, keeping y'all updated. Get on the log in, email us, holler back. It's DA to the Z right here, Chicago, baby.
What's going on? It's your boy Wally, aka Mr. Music is My Business. We are live from Smoky Studios, Urban Grind TV, Urban Grind Radio happening right now. This is Behind the Grind, and we got an amazing segment today. I got a very special co-host today. He is the author of Making Money with Music, about 200-300 different articles on making money with music. That's just always one of the biggest things that I get requests from is how do I make money from my music. And I'd love to introduce my dear friend, my partner, Mr. Randy Chertkow.
Hey, it's great to be here in the studio. I always love coming up here. It's got that special kind of energy, you know what I mean?
It is. And you know what? You come on different times. And depending on the different, it might be a little more wild some days. Some days are a little more chill. We kept it chill because our special guest today, we don't want to scare her off, so we kept it PG today. But yeah, today is a very special segment. It's networking like a pro, and it's building key relationships in entertainment. You know, and I see this need came out of knowing a lot of people that have been around each other a long time, and they've never worked with each other. And there's certain reasons like they don't even properly know how to network. And this is also for like newer people that are just getting in the game. And they're like, what am I doing wrong? You know, so I really wanted to hit networking like a pro. And when I mean networking, it's everybody. It's managers, producers, booking agents, artists, recording studios.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's so important that even though our book is called Making Money with Music, and it's all about all the different ways to make money with music, we've cataloged over 300. We managed to fit 100 in the book.
100 what? Talk to them.
Different ways to make money with music.
With one song.
It's not just a song, it's a question of a career. That's the bigger thing. And in fact, you can have an entire music career with no songs at all. You could actually just play live. You could be a backup singer. Some people make it with just one way to make money with music. But we started the whole thing, literally one of the earliest chapters is networking. And in that chapter, we talk about all the different roles you need to fill in order to succeed at a music business. And there's a huge number. Generally what happens is you either do it yourself, get someone else to do it, or it doesn't happen. And when you're saying there's a lot of businesses that don't work out, and music is a business, like you know, that's because you don't have the right roles and you don't have enough help. So networking is the key to it.
That's a good plug for my book. It's Music is My Business, the ultimate startup guide to the music business. They can check it out at musicbusinessebook.com. Your book is Making Money with Music. Where can they grab that if they want?
Making Money with Music is available at fine bookstores everywhere. Actually, Amazon, everywhere else. It's with a major publisher. It's the whole story how we got to be major publisher, even though my band is independent completely and we run it on our own. And that's how we wrote the book. But You can find it at makingmoneywithmusic.com. You can actually see the links to it.
So give us a taste. So what can you tell us about networking? What are some of the things that you study and learn? And I also want to give people background. You're a musician,
right?
What do you do? Talk.
Yeah, do a lot of stuff with music, top to bottom, actually, in a lot of different parts of the industry. And interestingly, as we've worked together, we're managing artists too.
Yes.
So like you catch the management side. We've got a band actually that's released over 500 songs. We've licensed music to Disney, to TV shows, to all kinds of different outlets. And we've actually done a lot of live music here in Chicago. I mean, we're really a Chicago band. We learned a lot by doing it ourselves. And a lot of what we ran into, and we actually have stories in our networking chapter, on how we found people to help out when we got stuck. They were the key. They were the ones that got us going so that we can actually unlock these things so we can make money in the first place.
That's funny you say that, because you're one of those people that helped me get unstuck in a few multiple ways. And we met through networking.
We did.
We did, right?
We did. We absolutely did. We met through, we were on a board together and doing something in the music business. The interesting thing about how all this type of thing goes is that you really do need to put yourself out there. But then the next thing, the most important thing that I like to say about networking is that it doesn't start with you and your needs. It actually starts with just being curious about people and finding out what they're all about. And once Wally introduced himself when we got together, and that's an important thing. You should actually be ready to introduce yourself. I was fascinated. I'm like, I got to hear more about what you're doing at UrbanGrindTV and everything. And we hooked up on that, and you brought me up here. I don't know, it was probably like 6-7 years ago.
It was a while.
It was a while ago now. But it was fascinating. We both found ways to help each other. So the first thing that I always ask when I run into somebody is, what are you working on? And what can I help with? Is you don't actually have to ask that question. You actually have to come up in the back of your head. How can I help this person get unstuck with whatever they're working on? And it makes networking something that goes from something like a 4-letter word that most people think is inauthentic to be the most authentic human thing you can do, which is just to try and help somebody out and listen.
That's amazing. And I think we are a good example, because we did meet at a board meeting. Like, we came to the studio, it was like some time passed.
Right.
You were putting out a book, you interviewed me.
For the book, Making Money with Music, you're in it.
Yes, I'm in Making Money, go get that book.
Wally is in this book, and he deserves to be in this book, because your story is incredible. And it's actually really a testament to networking as well. Because you've had different people cycle in and out of your career at different points, and there's different people that help you out. The nice thing about that, and that's like kind of another lesson that I can pass along at least, is that not only do you have to ask people what they need and try and help them out, once you've helped them out, they're actually usually pretty willing to help you back. And in order to do that, you have to do something that is very hard for people to do, which is to be vulnerable enough to say, I need help with this.
I need help. Help me
and
out.
just come out and say, I'm stuck with this thing. This is something that I don't know how to do. This is something that I need help with. Whatever it is that you happen to need. The thing that I'd recommend not going after is money, because everybody else in this business here, all of us here, and I do networking sessions around the country. Literally, I've done it coast to coast, and from San Diego, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, all the way through New York and Carnegie Hall. And I've met with people all over the country and done a lot of networking sessions. And I say the number one rule is you can't say you need money, because everybody needs money. I'm like, who needs money here? Everybody raises their hand.
Right.
But so a lot of times the way you can help somebody is something that's well within your reach that you're already good at. You're probably already good.
And it's very organic.
It's very organic, and I mean, you're an excellent example of this, Wally, because, as we've talked and worked together at different points, you're always like, hey, whatever it is, I can bring you up on the show. You've built this incredible thing called UrbanGrindTV. It's been around for 15 years. You've won over 28 awards, and you've actually really become part of this fabric of the city. And so anybody that we run into, that you run into, that you're trying to help out, you can say, hey, I can get you a segment right here. That's easy for you, but for them, it's out of reach.
Yes. Right, yeah, man, well, thank you. Thanks for recognizing. I know there's been a lot of things behind the scene. I actually want to touch on it. We got some great things that I want to cover, but I think our story is really good because we met, you interviewed me for the book, years went by, I was writing my book. I was like, Randy, you're the only guy. Please help me with my book. Would you help me like edit it? And then he helped me edit. And then I still went back and did rewrites and stuff like that on the book. And it was a process. And I got sick. I died a bunch of times. I was hospitalized. And I came back. I was like, I'm going to finish this book, even though I don't remember it. But our relationship progressed from just that meeting on a board, networking, right? And we were volunteers on the board.
Right.
So we're there on our own time, to being featured in a book, to more cross-promotional opportunities, to creating a business and signing an artist, a legacy artist, Ismael Rosa, to like, now we're doing the sites, and there's just so many amazing things, and everybody has the skills, because this really came from networking. And it was very organic, and I was honest, I was so vulnerable. I was like, hey, I don't know what I don't know, like, and I know a little bit, and that's dangerous, but like, this is where I'm stuck. And it was, like you said, like, that was an area where you were like, oh, well, this is like kind of what I do, this is, and that's the beauty. If that ain't networking and power relationships, then what is?
Right. And the amazing thing is, and I want to emphasize this, is that if you put yourself out there, and I'm going to actually say, don't just put yourself out there in music contexts. You don't have to just be going to music conferences or to music-related events. I've had actually some of the best networking opportunities going to completely unrelated conventions and conferences and things like that. And then you talk about the fact that you're doing music, or you talk about the fact that you're working on some kind of project. Let's say you're doing a book or whatever. You'd be surprised that the people that you talk to, just the people you run into, actually can help out with that. And so I usually come prepared at conferences, like I said, two things. First of all, I always ask, what are you working on? And I'd like to get, and if I can help, if I have a connection that can help them, that's great. If I have a skill, like I can do web development and that kind of stuff, and I'm helping with that, for example.
Right.
That's really straightforward. For me, that's really straightforward. For you, you can actually edit and put together a commercial.
Right.
And do something like that for them. So know what it is that you can do. But the other part of it was, I'd run into these people. Let's say I was at a conference. This was in the mid 2000s, actually, just to give you an idea. It was the early days of podcasting, and they all needed theme songs. And guess what? My band had just done a Song of the Day project. We were in the middle of doing a Song of the Day project.
Tell them about the Song of the Day project.
Yeah, that's always funny, when we talk about that. We decided to take on the craziest project you can imagine. We even lost some band members because they thought we were nuts to take it on, where we would release one song for every single day for a year, 365 songs. And I mean, we needed a lot of help for that. We actually had musicians come in that helped us with whatever it is that we needed at different points. But we did that project, and it was very much the type of thing that actually pulled together a whole community around it, and it actually made the whole engine go, including developing the website from everything else. So we ran into people at this conference, and they were podcasters, and they were like, we want a theme song, and we could generate them. We needed to do it for Song of the Day anyway. We got our band name mentioned every single podcast episode.
Tell them the band
Beatnik Turtle. We had a Beatnik Turtle is the name. We actually, if you go to our website, beatnikturtle.com, you can see our latest project. It's just released. And we actually made a comic book about our band. So we've turned all the band into comic book characters.
Plug the comic. What's the comic?
We're gonna. It's literally about us back in the '90s, as if we had started in the early '90s, and really trying to win a battle of the bands. And it's not quite us. Like, we took all of the characters, like good writing, and we turned them up to like all their problems up to 10, like not the good parts of them. Like every character in the band, it's based on some
like
real life
exaggerated
people. Exaggerated in a way that makes them completely non-functional, and so anyway, so that's our latest, and we're going to be releasing music every Friday coming up soon. Right now it's just story, so if you go there now, you'll see some story coming up, and if you just keep watching, the story will develop, and then the music will start coming out every Friday.
The crazy part is I don't know all the other band members, but I know Jason. Shout out Jay. And the character looks just like Jason. I looked at it, I was like, that's Jason, but he had hair. I think he had some hair.
Yeah, he had some hair.
He had
well,
some
he was
hair.
younger.
So it was Jason when he was younger, and it made
20s.
sense.
So yeah, I mean, we're a little older now.
That's networking, though. I mean, tell me that is. How do you do that? How do you pull together? If 3 guys in the band drop out, you don't got a bass, you don't got a drummer now.
That's what
How do you
happened.
call? It's networking, right?
Yeah, and it was, you know what? We have tons of crazy stories about that. At that point, we actually were in trouble because we lost our bass player. We lost a lot of key members.
It's always the bass player.
It's always the bass. And actually, that was the joke.
And the drummer, as usually there's those two are the hardest.
I was just editing one of the comics where that was the joke. It's like, well, that's why I didn't want a bass player. It's hilarious, but it's gonna come in a number of months that you'll see it. But yeah, absolutely. But bass players are always like this different breed. You know how it goes.
They are.
But leaving that aside, yeah, it's we actually just hit up our network and we ran into some people, and one of them was like, "Song of the day, I'm in." You know, our other bass player was like, "No, that's crazy. I'm not gonna do that." It actually happened pretty quickly. So again, we understood our need and we reached out. When we needed a new drummer, we just went to the Drum Pad, which is a really well-known place here in the western suburbs of Chicago. It's actually.
I thought you was talking
nationally
about
known.
an MPC. Like
Yeah,
drum
no.
pad.
No, it's a real thing, and you know that came together just from an ad that we put out. But other times we found the right people that we needed for some of the song of the day. When we needed a violin player, we just reached out, and suddenly we had one in our studio in the next week.
You hear that? Those guys watching, listening right now, been sitting on the same 4 songs for about 8 years. Ain't put nothing out. Am I lying, Sinister? Ain't put out nothing. Yeah. And you guys put out 1 song every day for an entire year. And I seen it. It's crazy. I heard some of the songs. It's rapping. It's legit. Like they're going crazy. You got to check out the project. It's wild.
Yo, what's the word? It's SMG Zello, aka Thought Boy Zello, the Talk A Lot artist, man. In the beginning, it was hard for me to get exclusives and to get promo for my music. But guess what? UGTV has that, man. Call the number below, and they will help you out, man. It was the best thing I did for myself.
Mujeriego y mentiroso, mira lo que he llegado yo. Ah, mira. Y ahora estoy buscando y rogando por perdón. ¡Ay, Dios mío! ¿Qué?
Are you an artist, model, or entertainer? Do you need help with bookings, castings, or even engagement on your platforms? Hit up UrbanGrindTV today and let them get you right.
What's going on? It's your boy Wally, aka Mr. Music Is My Business from UrbanGrindTV. I'm here to announce my brand new book is out. It's available everywhere books are sold. It's titled Music Is My Business, the ultimate startup guide to the music business. You can check it out at musicbusinessebook.com, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, and everywhere that books are sold. And it will help you turn your love for music into a sustainable career. Check us out, musicbusinessebook.com.
So, like, for people that don't, like, a lot of artists I've seen an attitude of, I'm really good, like, why should I network? What would you tell somebody that has that attitude?
Yeah, I've run across that before, and I've run across another type of, I would say, almost poisonous attitude, which is they think that do-it-yourself, there's this kind of concept of do-it-yourself in music, and it has to do with the way that the labels used to be in the 90s and earlier. that no longer is the case. That do-it-yourself means do it all yourself, and that's ridiculous. There's no business out there. There's no business, and yeah, music is a business, right?
Music is my business.
Music is your business. There's no business out there where you don't have a whole huge team of people making it happen. If you don't have enough people to make it happen, nothing goes on. And there's a lot of skills that you need. I mean, we're doing a lot right now that's visually, right? You need an editor. You need a lot of things. Well, what TV show doesn't have a whole bunch of people in the credits? The problem is people think with music that because there's not the same, there's credits on the albums, but we don't see the albums anymore.
No,
you don't see the credits anymore. And we act like it's just that's the person, and they get in front of a camera and they hit a little button and then they go back and then they do it themselves, everything. No, that's crazy. There's no successful artist that you've seen there that's reached like a more than a moderate level of fame that doesn't have a team behind them. They just hide the team. They just sit in the backdrop like it's a theater production and they're backstage. So just get yourself out of the idea that this is something you have to do yourself, or there's any kind of ethic to it, or any kind of benefit to just doing it all yourself or saying you did it all yourself. No, the only thing that matters is the result. And you've developed an incredible team to pull off 15 years of Urban Grind TV. How many people came to put this together? You probably can't even name them.
I've been through dozens and dozens. It's well into the hundreds
Right.
of people that cycle, from producers, engineers, photographers, talent, hosts. Yeah.
Keep going.
You can't do it. But you know what's funny is, a lot of us as entrepreneurs and business owners, and I'm sure Jen can talk to us about this, is where we're so used to wearing multiple hats now. And we cheat using technology because there's apps and stuff like that. But nothing takes away from the human element. Right before we started this, we were doing some photo shoots, right?
Right.
And it's like it took 4 or 5 people to put together the shots, the pictures, the lighting. It's gonna take more people to edit it. Now we want to do something else. So it really takes the team. So your advice is get it out your head. You need the network.
Well, it's actually, and this is why in our networking chapter we actually have a section where we said, here's all the roles that you need. And there was I can't remember even right now. It's been a while since I wrote it. Something like 30, 40, 50 different roles. And all of them are going to fall on your shoulders, and you're going to get it done right. It just doesn't happen.
Well, even if you do it, you're not going to do it to the level that it needs to be done commercially.
Yes.
Right? So, like, I could probably cut my hair. Is it going to look like the way it does, the way Ismail? No. You know what I mean? But just I could say, I did it, and I got done with it.
And that's another point that's actually worth bringing up. One of my favorite mentors in the industry, Derek Sivers, he had a good piece of advice about this, and he said, out of everything that you need to do, there's going to be some things that you hate. It drains you to even think about doing it. For those things, someone out there loves it. Someone out there loves doing bookkeeping. Bookkeeping, like, your accounting books, is that important? It's the most important thing you can do as a business owner. It's the money. If you don't track where your money's coming from and when, and you don't get it right for the taxes, you're actually going to not make enough money. You might just fall apart as a business.
And it's going to cost you money in the back end with penalties and everything else.
See, we start to get into this stuff.
It's expensive to be unorganized.
There are people who love bookkeeping, and some of them may do that for you. Whereas there's other people who are experts in other things, because we're going to have an expert coming out later that talks about sponsorships. And she's an absolute expert at this. She's great. And you know what? I'm going to use the best when it comes to each area that I'm trying to do for my music business if I care about its success. That's the way I think about it. So it's actually the way to do it is to reverse it. First of all, you got to be humble and say, first of all, here's all this stuff I have to do and I can't do all of it. Then you can try and reach out and find out who can help you and who can actually put together a team to succeed at it.
That's kind of like where Behind the Grind was birthed out of, right? Because, Urban Grind TV, we interview a lot of artists, the producers, the on-air people. But Behind the Grind was just that. I wanted people to see the faces that helped do the promotion, people that take the pictures, people that design the album covers, the road managers. Yes. Not only to know that they exist, but you need them and you got to pay them.
Right.
And they're important. It's like, little by little, like you said, those successful people, just because you don't see them, don't mean they don't have them. They got them.
Right. And once you got them, the next thing is to keep them involved. And there are things that you can do that really, because we're in the entertainment business, we can do that really very few businesses can. Like what I mean by that is you can have just some business on the street corner, and it's not like you can do credits for that. But when you actually do any of these types of projects that are entertainment, especially audio-visual, but especially even with the music, you can do that with just audio. You can actually have a page that thanks all of them and links out to them. Everybody wants to share in that kind of attention that you get. And if you're serious about your project and you're going to promote it, think about it from this point of view. You're going to promote it, well, that's only going to help them get their name higher up and more stature, which is everybody in the entertainment business. They're all looking for that. So, I mean, the point being, you have something to offer, not just work, not just help me for free. And, you know, it depends. You could pay them sometimes. You can pay them in a lot of different ways.
Right. I was going to say, there's currency in many forms, right? Because what does it cost? It costs money per listener. It costs money to bring certain fans in. But, like, the stuff, the knowledge you would gain, even, like, working with, like, a show like us and the media and the grind and the things you'll touch and the people you'll meet up close and personal, how do you pay for that? Like, you would pay for it. You would. If you were an artist, you'd say, oh, I'd love to pay to be backstage with this guy or be close to him, an interview, get a picture, talk to him, be one-on-one. Like,
see
you
what
know,
I mean?
I got a million artists. Instead of every artist fan base that's out there, I'm gonna interview them. I'm gonna get a little bit of their fan base now and later, because I have that video is good forever. Right. So when that guy blows, if he, you know, anything big, I'm gonna have that. Like, oh yeah, I met him. I did a video, I got the picture, and that's where the content comes in.
See, this is why music is his business.
Yeah.
This guy, he created UrbanGrindTV, and he had a team, but he put it together, and now he's got a platform where basically you can pay people an attention. You can give them some, all the various things that are part of the process, actually including the behind the scenes. Nowadays with social media are valuable. What am I giving you? I'm giving you actually things and ways to pay for your help, like whatever people help you with. And it's really about being very giving about that kind of thing.
It is. And because what we give them, it lasts forever. It's digital. It never gets old. It doesn't get dirty. It doesn't break. The service that you may have did for me was come and gone, you know? So it's like they have something.
Right.
And that's part of networking. Right. You know, and I tell you, I've had different people come in, especially interns.
Yes.
And what I would tell them is, like, don't turn it into a job. And they'll be like, in like paid, unpaid internships, it didn't matter. And they're like, what do you mean? Because in the beginning, I would give them a list of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And they would get the list done, and then they would be like, what else do you need help with?
Yeah.
And then they would get to do the other stuff that they really wanted to learn. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, like, life or whatever, their focus fades. And especially if they're getting paid, they're like, oh, it's a job. So they would show up, they would do everything just on the list and nothing more.
Right.
And that was it. It was just a minimum. And I remember this woman, she came and she goes, I want to do what you do. I want to run a business. And I said, you need to worry about everything from the bathroom to the sink, to the door, to the lights, to the, like, there's everything when you're a business owner that you have to be concerned of and think about. And so I tried to give her that knowledge, and it just turned into slowly, like, I'm just going to do the list. Then it was like half the list. And I'm like, well, you don't get no days off. Whatever you don't do, I have to do.
Right.
And the last intern I let go, I gave him like some common stuff to do when we were setting up for the studio, and he was like, I gotta do all this? And I'm like, it's on the list.
Right.
But you want me to do all this? I was like, no, I don't want you to do this. Don't worry about it. Just do whatever you want to do, and let me know what you finish. I'll do the rest. And that was the last time I ever saw that guy.
See, this is a key point right here that Wally's talking about. This production that you're watching right now, those of you who are listening live, watching this afterwards, just keep in mind, there's actually other people in the room you can't see that make this stuff happen.
Right. Shout out Johnny.
And you know what? The fact that you're able to see the different Sinister. We've got all these people that are doing it. They're great. They're awesome to work with. But like the fact that the cameras and the lighting everything is the way that it is not an accident. And you know what? If it's not right, then my face isn't lit up right. And you can't even see, like, it'll look unprofessional. This is the type of thing that we're talking about. If you want the end product to look as polished as the things that you want to copy that are coming from some of the major labels and everything else, you actually know that you have to have that game, and that means you have to fill those roles up and do it. And for what you're talking about, if you have someone on your team who's like, well, I'm going to do half of it, it's like, guess what? You can't just do half the lighting here. It wouldn't look good.
Right. Well, they're not going to want to get half their money.
Yo, what's the word? It's SMG Zello, aka Thought Boy Zello, the Talk a Lot artist, man. In the beginning, it was hard for me to get exclusives and to get promo for my music. But guess what? UGTV has that, man. Call the number below and they will help you out, man. It was the best thing I did for myself.
Let me tell the story. Yeah. Why you put that on? That's my favorite song. Understands my song. Yeah. Baby, let's get it on. You so bad, you so bad, baby, yo. Swagging out, baby, ooh. Yeah. You so bad, you so bad. Ooh, I need you bad, oh. In my mind, I want this all the time. Black lingerie, black lingerie. I like it, baby. I love it, baby. You do it like a pro. Love it when you drop down low, baby. You do me like a pro. Love it when you drop down low. In my mind, I want this all the time. Black lingerie, lingerie. I like it, baby. I love it, baby. You're so wrong. How you do me in this way? Back and forth. How you shaking in my face? Temptation. Finna have me a new girl. Baby girl, you rock my world. Lingerie, lingerie. I like it, baby. I love it, baby. Do it in your black lingerie. Do it in your black lingerie. I like it, baby. I love it, baby. No.
Fue por culpa de otro amor que te engañé y te dejé. He pecado. Perdóname, porque he pecado. Necesito tu perdón. Sin ti no hay nada en mi corazón. Perdóname. Por mujeriego y mentiroso, mira lo que he llegado yo. Ah, mira. Y ahora estoy buscando y rogando por perdón. ¡Ay, Dios mío! ¿Qué?
Are you an artist, model, or entertainer? Do you need help with bookings, castings, or even engagement on your platforms? Hit up UrbanGrindTV today and let them get you right.
what's going on? It's your boy Wally, aka Mr. Music is My Business from UrbanGrindTV. I'm here to announce my brand new book is out. It's available everywhere books are sold. It's titled Music is My Business, the ultimate startup guide to the music business. You can check it out at musicbusinessebook.com, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, and everywhere that books are sold. And it will help you turn your love for music into a sustainable career. Check us out, musicbusinessebook.com.
You know what? A mistake I learned early in the business that I definitely want to share is that I got reliant on people. So sometimes I would have I had a producer who also was an engineer, who also would do a little bit of the editing, right? So I was spoiled because he was across a few different things. And he was not really great at any of them, but he just had fun. He was reliable, okay?
Okay.
And when I lost him, I was looking for somebody that did the production, the engineering, and the editing, and you're not always gonna find that. Where really he was wearing the hat of three people. So I quit looking for the person or the person to fill the role, and I broke down the roles more, and I was like, okay, if I take this role, I know that this person is good for this role. Because you're never gonna fully, like, they'll never find another me, they're never gonna find another Randy, you know, it's like, you're not gonna get that, right? So you got to think more of the duties. And the thing I asked him to do was fill the refrigerator with waters. So we had water for the guest. And so right there, when it was a problem, I knew he wasn't really serious about doing it. And you can't play on my team if you can't keep up.
Yes.
You know, because it's just common courtesy.
Absolutely.
You know, and the thing is, like, I'll go and I'll scrub the toilet. I'll mop the floors. I'll do anything that I ask the intern to do, I will do myself. And I have no shame. Jewelry and everything. I don't care. I'll get it done.
No, that stuff matters. And, you know, this reminds me of a story by another one of my favorite people, Don Pitts. He's the guy who used to run South by Southwest on the city side of Austin, Texas. And, you know, you can imagine what goes into an event like that. He just got into the business. He was 17. He was being led around by somebody who was grizzled old veteran of the industry, the music industry. And walking around, and the guy was picking up trash on the grounds of wherever the festival was going to happen. He's like, "Oh, you don't have to do that, do you?" Don said to, you know, the older guy. He's like, "Son, when you're in this industry, your job is to pick up the trash and do everything else." And really, that's part of it, and that's probably why a lot of people have trouble in this industry without enough help.
That ain't my job.
It is your job, and in the end, if it doesn't happen at some point, either the product doesn't even get out, or it's not good enough to even catch an audience and do that, you know, to a fine polish. So, like, it takes time to develop this kind of stuff. It's why, actually, the first thing you should do, you should shrink what you're trying to achieve, because the team that you have to get it done, that's another reason why businesses fail, besides not making enough money, is actually not being focused enough on what they're going to release so that you can get it done with the team that you need.
Yeah, and be realistic in your expectations, right? You can't expect, you know, $1 million production if you have a very modest budget.
That's right.
So that, but if you scale it down and say, you know what, maybe I won't do a full feature, maybe I'll do like a short film, I'll do 15 minutes, and my resources and what my ability, my favors only go so far, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can get a Lambo, but maybe I can't get a Ferrari from somebody.
Listen to this
I'm
guy.
realistic when I do the treatments, or if we're in the room and we're talking about a helicopter, then we're looking up where we can rent and get a helicopter ride. Or if we're looking, I'm being realistic on it. Some people who remain nameless do CGI and special effects stuff that they have no plan on following through, but they'll show up the day to shoot and be like, all right,
you can dream.
What are we doing?
You can dream.
I
big.
love dreams. I love that too. I love the ambition, but I think my job as a producer, you know, and he's a director. I'm gonna keep his name. I won't say it is John, but no, I just call him Mr. Daniel, so I don't put him out there, right? So, no, it's like, it's ambitious, but I guess, you know, their jobs is to say, hey, this is what we should do.
Yes.
And unfortunately, my job as an executive producer is figure out the how. How are we gonna do it?
This guy, I mean, interestingly, Wally can be humble at times he shouldn't. Because this guy has kept this Urban Grind TV going through the times where people were there for him and times where they weren't. And he made it happen. He always made it happen. And then when times got better and you got the right people, you were able to fill them in the roles and actually get them to make it better again. Yes. But he always found a way to make it happen. And so, like, part of networking, again, is knowing what you need to do in the first place, scaling it back to whatever you can get done with what you do. The nice thing is getting lighting, and I'm pointing to the lights as if you can see it, and it's pointing at us directly, and everything else. But you can get enough equipment to make a really good production.
Right.
But you also know what it takes. You can talk better than anybody about what it takes to make a production happen.
Right.
How many music videos have you made in your time?
We've probably with John, I don't know, what do you think we got, John? 40 or 50? Over 100? Probably 100.
Oh, over
it's
100.
funny because I was part of another nonprofit. We had a 501c3.
Yeah.
I was on the board and I taught a music business program. And that's how I met John and another guy that I don't say his name. That I met him, and I thought the other guy would hit off with, and then me and John hit off. And I think Urban Grind was around a couple of years, maybe 2 years at the time. It wasn't 6 months. It was a little bit longer. It was season 3. It was season 3. Season 2? Okay, season 2. So we were like 13 and
we're
26.
what season are
we
you
were
on
like
now?
39 episodes. We're 29 seasons.
Just to be context,
So-
now, he's talking about that far back.
15 years. So like, we started it, we were doing everything. We had multiple people doing it, like trying to fill the roles. And then, John had experience and he had his own production company at the time. And he was like, all right, he wants to direct. And because he's a director, guess what else he became? His favorite other thing to do is editing. Because it's like, yeah, I'm a director, but I got to edit because if I don't edit, guess what? Nobody's going to see all this great stuff.
Nothing.
So thank you. But it's part of the thing, right? Did he say I want to be an editor? Probably that was not the thing he wanted. But that's the thing we got to do, right? And that's where the networking comes in, is meeting people. And you got to wear multiple hats. You got to be flexible. I've seen a lot of people like, that's not my job or whatever. Like, you do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I can add something to what you just said that I found really interesting. I'm somebody, as you know, who is constantly reading books and researching things and collecting pro tips on everything.
Yeah, he does.
And one of the, it's like I'm always quoting him, I read an interesting book about that topic. And you're like, what?
He does. He got it.
I'm always doing that. And one of the ones on networking that I read, and yes, I've read multiple books on how to network because it's not natural. It wasn't natural for me. I had to learn it over time. But this is going to surprise most people. And I ran into this one on an NPR story that talked about a book that said the most valuable parts of your network are probably not people in your inner circle. And if you think about it, why is that the case? Your inner circle would have helped you already. Especially if you were vulnerable enough, like we talked about earlier.
Or never going to help you.
Well, yeah, or they're not going to help you for various reasons. Maybe they don't want you to succeed. That's a different problem.
Right.
And everything else, but that's a people issue.
Right.
But if we stick to just the networking part of it, and you've been vulnerable enough to say what it is that you need, I need somebody who can do editing, for example, and nobody's come up for helping you, the people who are going to help you are the people at the edges of your network who you haven't talked to
haven't met them
years.
Yet. They're out there.
No, you've met them. They're part of your circle. That's what I'm trying to say. If you use LinkedIn, and if you're in business, you should be using LinkedIn and things like that, tools like that. They're probably people that you've met once or twice that you didn't even know they could help you.
Right.
And so I think we talked about it, Jen Morale, and we're going to bring her out
That's
later.
our guest coming up.
Yeah, our guest coming up. But I think you talked about that recently as you hit a new point in your career, and you're like, hey, this is somebody I haven't talked to in 10 years. And suddenly she had actually all these things that can help me when I reached out and talked to them. So it's actually partly about not just the people you don't know, which is hard. It's hard to get to know them. You have to, like I said, you have to listen to them. You have to help them out. And then you have to hopefully they'll reciprocate, but you don't know who they are yet or how useful or how reliable they'll be.
Right.
You run into that. But the people who are already in your network, who are people who you don't talk to regularly, probably have the help for you. And that's biggest surprise. I've run into it recently too, as I've made transitions recently. It's been unreal how I talked to somebody who was a former client as I left. And she had all these contacts. She worked at Disney, had all these contacts that were like tremendously
That you
useful.
were sitting on, didn't know the whole time. But you had the time to at least ask them questions, right?
That's the key. And that's exactly it. I mean, you've been really good about reaching out and finding. So one of the things that's really amazing about Wally is that he's curious about people and he'll reach out and get to know them and find out what they're all about.
Yeah, they'll either love me or hate me.
And he'll pull them into his orbit. If he doesn't push them out of the orbit, because you can. Based on the stories that you've told, you've had some people that just have.
We're all in water.
But you've attracted like some really talented people who really come together in order to make some of these productions happen. So it's been an amazing thing. Some of the people. And we've been talking about this recently, you and I, as we've been doing it. As we've been trying to get into new parts of business. You know, some of the people you already know probably have a lot of opportunities for whatever it is you're trying to do for your next step.
But how would they know unless we're networking?
Unless you're networking, we're talking. Unless you're reconnecting with them, talking to them, and again, telling them what it is that you're trying to do and what's stuck. There's a really great TED Talk on this, and it's called Isolation is the Dream Killer. That's what to search on Google.
Okay.
Isolation is the Dream Killer. It's on YouTube. Is one of the highest watched TED Talks, and it's an incredible thing where basically she says it's not about motivation. It's literally about being able to get out there and just say what it is you want. She used to put together these networking groups. I say she is. I didn't mention the speaker, who I can't think of her name right now, but in any case, I think it's Barbara something. Anyway, she put out this talk where people were just stuck in their lives, and she's like, you have to say what it is you're trying to do, but then what's in the way. And there's just incredible stories. Like one guy wanted to be a cowboy. It was like a silly dream of his, and he ran into somebody just by reaching out and saying it in front of a group of people. It's like, oh yeah, I have a ranch and I actually need a bookkeeper, which he happened to do. Speaking of bookkeeping,
that's the universe.
Yeah,
right there.
And there's story after story after story in this that like convinced me that the more important thing is to actually be out there, not just about what you've done, but what you're doing.
Yo, what's the word? It's SMG Zello, aka That Boy Zello, the Talk A Lot artist, man. In the beginning, it was hard for me to get exclusives and to get promo for my music. But guess what? UGTV has that, man. Call the number below, and they will help you out, man. It was the best thing I did for myself.
Mujeriego y mentiroso, mira lo que he llegado yo. Ah, mira. Y ahora estoy buscando y rogando por perdón. ¡Ay, Dios mío! ¿Qué?
Are you an artist, model, or entertainer? Do you need help with bookings, castings, or even engagement on your platforms? Hit up UrbanGrindTV today and let them get you right.
What's going on? It's your boy Wally, aka Mr. Music is My Business from UrbanGrindTV. I'm here to announce my brand new book is out. It's available everywhere books are sold. It's titled Music is My Business, the ultimate startup guide to the music business. You can check it out at musicbusinessebook.com, Amazon Books, Barnes & Nobles, and everywhere that books are sold. And it will help you turn your love for music into a sustainable career. Check us out, musicbusinessebook.com.
See, I think that's, what about like, because there's people now, especially the younger generation, they think I'm on social media, I'm on Instagram, or I'm on Facebook. I don't have to go to somebody's party. I don't have to meet anybody. Ain't they super undervaluing when you meet someone and shake their hand and can talk to them and feel their vibe out there. There's a lot of people I think they can do it totally online. What would you say to that?
Yeah, that's actually it's this is somewhat of a generational thing. Certainly, like when I was younger, there was no such thing as any of this stuff. I was there when the internet started out. I was on the earliest form of the internet in 1990. I was in college by that point. That's how old I am. But I can tell you, I'm very much like I'm
not going to ask what he was looking for. I'm just going to leave it.
Back then,
that's another show.
Back then, it was hard to download anything, but it was out there. There was still all kinds of stuff out there you wouldn't imagine. But leaving that aside, the whole thing I'm trying to say about that is that it's easy to do things on the internet, and that actually gives us the illusion that it's actually meaningful or that it's going to help you. Yeah, and the hard part about that is yes, you do have to do it in person. I mean, even if you're introverted. I tend to be a little more introverted. I love being in front of cameras. I'm a musician in the end. I love speaking and doing this kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like being at parties and everything can kind of drain me. But what I've flipped the whole thing to be about is I get curious about people, and I go to these places, and I just want to find out what they're all about, which is actually how I met Jennifer Morelli. That's how we met each other, and it was, you wait until you see her segment. It's incredible, and like what her expertise is. And it's just because I was curious about what this person was all about. So yeah, you need to get out there, and guess what? That relationship you make with people, I can only emphasize this enough. I'm going to look into the camera. I'm going to look at you in the eye right now and tell you, listen to this. The kind of connection you can make with another human being is very shallow online, and you really need to meet them in person and be with them in order to have a real relationship at that point. And how when you're going to, especially if you're going to pull them into your circle, they're going to become an important part of what you're doing next. You need that interaction. Have a meal together. Don't watch movies, because that's like doing an individual activity together on the side. You're sitting side by side to somebody, but actually interact and be with them, get curious about what they're all about, and help them out. That's how every business started. And yes, music is a business.
Music is my business.
So it's all this type of thing that is about the real world and getting it together. So don't let the illusion of today's world, where you can hit likes and you can follow somebody, as being anything meaningful. It's actually about a lot more than that. Now, you can keep that warm through some of the online stuff, but that's after you establish. And I can tell you that one of the things that I've done in my life is sales. I did it for 10 years at various sorts. There was nothing like face-to-face. Like we tried to sell during COVID. It was very difficult. Once we actually had a meal together, everything changed.
That's how Randy got me. He took me for Thai food, and we've been locked in ever since.
What did you think of Thai food?
See, it was a good time. We had a good time. We've been rocking and rolling ever since. So before we go to break, when we come back, we're gonna have Jen Morelli. She's gonna talk to us about how to get sponsorship, because that's one thing people always talk about. But I want to give them some do's and don'ts before we get out of here, and maybe a pro tip.
Yeah.
And I thought it was necessary that we shared our experience, and I even shared, some of mine of how I've met people and how they've become an integral part of my life from networking, and they're like family now.
Yeah.
So not just business, but it's personal as well. So just a few do's and don'ts you can share with them.
Yeah. Let's summarize what I talked about earlier, because, I used to do radio at different points too, and people might just have tuned in. So you might have heard this before, but it's worth reiterating. Number one, when you meet with people, if you want to be authentic, just be curious about what they're doing. Ask them what they're working on, and see if you can find out where they're stuck and how you can help them. Your question you should constantly ask yourself is, how can I help this person that I just met? That's the key do. Don't go out there just trying to expect to get something from them. That's where you're inauthentic. That's the part where a lot of people don't even network in the first place. They don't want to do it because networking sounds like a businessy thing that none of us want to do. If we're an artist, if we just want to make music, they're like, well, I don't want to get involved in that. It's like, guess what? It's just about human relationships and getting it together. But then the other flip side of that is you should know what it is that you need and what you're looking for. And it's interesting. You can talk to people who don't even have that expertise area, and they're like, well, I don't do editing, but I happen to know somebody who does.
Yeah.
So I will interestingly talk about myself after I listen to people and just say, hey, here's what I'm working on. Like, oh, I know somebody who does that. Here's another do, and probably the most powerful do that I know. I'll tell a very, very short story about it. I knew somebody who was trying to move from Seattle to Austin, Texas, and wanted to get in radio. She had nothing to do with radio. She was never in radio. And what she did was she got some names from people she knew in Seattle, in Austin, went out to Austin without knowing anybody, sat there with a notepad, had coffee with them, and asked all of them for 5 names of people she should meet. She told them about her dream. I want to be in radio. She had a job in radio in 2 weeks. And a notebook full of names.
Great contacts. Because she spoke on it. Network and speak up. Talk to people.
And she asked the question, who do you know that can help me? It's the most powerful question I know in networking.
Man, that's amazing. It's been great. I think it's really important instead of just, reading off some stuff that we use real life examples. I mean, our journeys all have been here through many years through networking. So again, plug your book. Where can they find you? How can they tap in with you?
Sure. MakingMoneyWithMusic.com. You can check it out. And we actually are now affiliated with something called the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. That's my latest project, is working on a not-for-profit on getting the information about how to make money with music. So if you go to ccelearn.org, you can actually subscribe to that and actually start tapping into the hundreds of ways to make money with music. There's a reason why we start with networking. Why are you doing that? From a business standpoint, part of what you need to do is start the engine on all the different things that can actually make you income. And some of those, yes, need a team to help you out. You can't just do it all on your own. So that's an important component of the whole thing.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. This is part 1. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we got our amazing guest, Jen Morelli. She's going to talk to us about how to get sponsorship. People have been asking for it, and we are delivering right here on Urban Grind TV's Behind the Grind. My name is Wally, a.k.a. Mr. Music is my business. You can follow me on Urban Grind TV on all social media. Be right back.